So I've been trying to go over social media more so lately, and one thing I did notice is that there's been a discourse about whether or not you're a real fan of Yakuza if you play the games or not, and you watch it on YouTube or streaming instead. The answer is pretty clear cut in this. It's multifaceted in terms of answering the question, of course, because there is different scenarios that you could face. But I'll go through it more so one at a time. A lot of people made the argument that they're in a financially bad situation to the point they can't buy the games. I'll just say that as of right now, and normally at points of the year, the Yakuza franchise has massive sales for all their games. Massive sales. Actually, there's a massive sale going on right now. It can range anywhere between 45% to 70% off. So, between now to November 6th, which is tomorrow, you can get any of these games for a massive sale as low as $5.99. So, you can basically get all the games for less than the price of a console game, like $60. No, now $70, but that just only helps my point, really. So you can get a bunch of these games at a super low point. But if you can't afford the games, no one should judge you for that. And I don't think anyone of common sense is judging you for not being able to buy the games, so you watch it instead. Now, if, for example, you simply cannot play the games because you have a disability or something, again, people with common sense will understand that's completely fine. It's not something that's even needing to be acceptable because it's just common sense that if you can't play the game, you can't play the game. If you don't have time to play the game, you don't have time to play the games. Sometimes I don't have time to play games. I don't have time to play games now, really. I'm working, I'm studying, I'm trying to make content here and there. Sometimes I don't have time to play games. A lot of the time, really. So I understand. Right? If you don't have time to play the games, you don't have time to play games. If you don't have time to play games, but you choose to watch it instead on YouTube or streaming or anything like that, you're making no sense whatsoever. I have to emphasize that because the time that you would take to play the games is the time that you would take to watch it on YouTube or streaming or whatever like that. And I'm not knocking anyone who's making content on Yakuza, like streaming it, playing it, making videos. I streamed some of the games. I streamed 3, 4, 5, and Infinite Wealth, a little bit of that. But I've streamed some of these games. If you don't have time to play the game, but you have that same time to watch instead, you're making no sense whatsoever. You can play a Yakuza game can range anywhere between as low as if you're blitzing through it, as low as 20 hours to as high as 60 hours, right? Just 2 hours every other day, you'll be done in about a month and a half at best, a month to a month and a half. So that argument doesn't really make sense in terms of time consumption. And I think that the reason why this is important, why people have an issue with that specifically, is that when you choose to watch the content, and again, emphasizing choose, right? If you don't have a choice, no one's judging you for that. No one's making a judgment for that. Or no one of common sense should be making a judgment for that at all. But if you're choosing to watch it instead of playing the games, you're giving yourself a complete disservice. I'll explain it in several ways. When you're looking at reviews of games, you look at a review of a game, it can be a negative one or a positive one, but you have yet yourself played the game. You can only see clips here and there. And I'm not dogging anybody who's looking at clips to see if they like the game or not, right? But this is more so if you are using that as your rubric to review the game yourself or have your opinion set on the game. It's the same for watching someone else play a game themselves. You're limiting to your experience to what they experience. You're limiting your feedback to their feedback. If they missed a massive thing in the game, you're not going to know that. Or maybe you would, but you're not going to feel the difference there. You're not going to have your own unique opinion about it because your opinion is limited to whatever the person on that stream or on that playthrough did. You can miss a large amount of sub stories that is not your choice. you're doing that based off of someone else's decision. You're not making any unique decisions in these playthroughs. You're not making any unique choices, and that gives you different reactions for different things you can do in the games, especially sub stories where they give you different options. That's a shame. It really is a shame. Now, I'm not saying you have to 100% any Yakuza game. I think most people would agree you don't have to 100% a Yakuza game, right? No one's telling you to do that because that can be difficult to do. That can be difficult to do. I'm not even telling you you have to do every single sub story in the game. It'd be cool to be able to do that, right? But I'm not telling you have to do every single sub story in the game either. I'm just saying you should play the games yourself if you can, versus watching someone else play the game. You can watch someone else play a game. That's cool. But you should really try to play the game yourself if you can, and if you have an interest in the game, right? That's the important thing. Just say you're a fan of something, but you're not really trying to play the game doesn't sit right with me if you have the option to do it, right? I think that's the key thing there. That's the key distinction there. If you don't have the time, fine. If you don't have the money, fine. If you have a disability or just simply physically unable to do it, not to conflate the two things, but if it's either one of those things, fine. Right? No judgment there. It's not like, oh, you had to do this to be a real Yakuza fan if you don't regardless if you don't have these situations, you're not a real fan. No one's saying that. But you can't really be like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of this game. I've only watched someone else play it. I'm a fan of the series, and these are my criticisms. These are what I like. You didn't play it yourself to experience that. There are several options that you can miss entirely. You could choose the worst case scenario in these games and not enjoy it, and that's fine because that's your choice. Someone will have a different experience from you, then they may be able to contradict you with that. And then you can go back and play it yourself to see, oh, maybe I was wrong about that. You can't do that if you just watch someone else play the game. You can see someone else play through it. Like let's say they have no opinion, this is all muted. The gameplay itself could be looking as smooth as possible, but the controls could be super janky and you'd have no idea, or vice versa. It could be something that someone complains about, the jankiness of the controls, but you play it yourself and you realize that's not true at all. I remember seeing recently that someone said that Kiwami had very limited combat, and that makes no sense if you play the games. But I'm not trying to make a rant about that either. That's just my point that you can't just base it on someone else who played the game. You have to try playing the game yourself. If you can play the game and you like the series, please play the game. If you don't have any of the stipulations that we talked about, or at least I talked about previously, please play the game. As a matter of fact, you know what I'll do is if you're the first to comment about wanting to get a copy of a game before the sale is over November 6th, because I'm also on a budget too. If you're the first one to comment saying, hey, you want to get a game on the series, I'll gift you one. It's, and this is for first time people who haven't played Yakuza before. If you already have the game, already have a game in the series, please let this be for somebody else. People are inviting you to play the games. This is not gatekeeping, right? No one's gatekeeping you from playing these games. People are inviting you to play this game. People want you to play these games. This is not gatekeeping, because people want you to be a part of the community. They want you to talk about these things. They want you to have your own opinions. No one's telling you, hey, don't touch these games. Don't touch the franchise. They're telling you, consume it. But that's all I really had to say here. Um, no one should be making someone feel bad for not, but no one should be making anyone feel bad about not playing the games, right? I think that's something that anyone should be able to understand. And most people who are on the side of you should play the games aren't gatekeeping you from the series. They want you to play the game. They want you to consume the content. Right? So if you can consume the content, you should. You really should. You should really give the series a chance for yourself. That's what I have to say there. Well, that's about it. That's my opinion about it. I could have been a little more nice about that, I guess. That's all I really have to say right now. I'm open to having discussions about it too, for sure. But in terms of being a real fan, that's what I have to say in general. No one's faulting you if you can't play the games, whatever, like that. But again, if you can play the games, please try to play the games. That's about it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and please have a wonderful day, and be sure to keep it free.